I'm registered in this class.
What class?
This is U.S. history.
Welcome back, young scholars. In the last video, we learned that Spain
Hola.
and France
Au revoir.
got a head start in the race to establish permanent colonies in the New World. In this video, we begin to focus on the most important European player during the U.S. colonial period, and that's England.
The British are coming! The British are coming!
This video will provide some background into the English entry into the colonial race. And during the 1500s, the English engaged in some very limited exploration of North America, and they did not attempt to establish any permanent colonies like Spain and France had. So the big question in this video is, why was England slow to enter the colonization race? And what factors finally led it to launch colonies in the early 1600s?
We interrupt this program to annoy you and make things generally irritating.
Now, before we get too far, I want to take a minute to clear something up that really confused me when I was in high school. And that's what's up with the names England, Great Britain, and the United Kingdom. Do they basically mean the same thing? It was always confusing to me. Now, the easiest way to learn this is to start small and then to keep getting bigger. So England is a country in Europe, and in the 1700s, England entered into a union with two other countries on its borders, Wales and Scotland. Now, together, the combination of England, Wales, and Scotland form Great Britain, which is really just another name for the island that all three of these independent countries share. In the 1800s, Ireland joined the Union, forming a new country called the United Kingdom. Now, in the 1900s, Ireland split in half, and Northern Ireland was still part of the United Kingdom and is still part of it today, while Ireland is no longer part of that union. So hopefully that makes things a little bit more clear. But ultimately, because this is a U.S. history class and not like a European history course, I'm going to use all three of these terms interchangeably, and I'm okay with you using all three terms pretty much interchangeably as well. All right, so back to the big question. How about in England? What took so long to establish colonies in the Americas? Well, the short answer to this question is that England was preoccupied with some serious religious turmoil and what I call baby mama drama in the 1500s. And all of this drama centered around this man, King Henry VIII, who ascended to the throne of England in 1509. And at that time, England was a relatively weak nation, especially compared to its neighbor to the south, Spain. And in order to build an alliance with Spain, Henry's father, King Henry VII, agreed to marry Henry to the daughter of the King and Queen of Spain, a woman named Catherine of Aragon. Both England and Spain also had a strong connection based upon their devotion to the Roman Catholic Church. Now, all of that changed when Catherine was unable to bear any healthy male children. But it's not like she didn't try. Catherine was pregnant, I think, 6 times. However, 5 of Catherine's children died at birth or maybe within the first month of their life. And the only child that survived was a girl named Mary. And a girl wasn't good enough for Henry. What he wanted was a queen who would bear him sons. And Henry was also a bit of a dirty, cheating dog. He kind of had a wandering eye. So Henry asked the Catholic Pope to annul his marriage to Catherine. The Pope refused. So Henry broke with the church, England's connection with the Catholic Church, and declared himself the head of the Church of England. Henry named a new archbishop of the Church of England, who granted his annulment, and then he remarried a woman named Anne Boleyn. So he told Catherine to go away, and he remarried a woman named Anne Boleyn. But poor Anne, though, she also, like Catherine, only had one healthy daughter, a girl named Elizabeth. So she found her head soon under the sharp edge of the guillotine blade. So Henry then went on to marry 4 other women.
Next.
It's like he was on an episode of Next, that old MTV show, which most of you probably haven't seen.
Next.
With so many children to so many different women, sorting out who would succeed Henry was a mess. Eventually, it was Henry and Anne's daughter Elizabeth who ascended to the throne. Now, Queen Elizabeth sought to make England a global power. She strengthened England's commitment to the Protestant Church of England, further distancing England from the Catholic Church in Spain. An interesting fact about Elizabeth is she was not married and didn't have any children, so she was nicknamed the Virgin Queen. And the first English colony was named after her, and that is the colony of Virginia. Now, the major obstacle standing in England and Elizabeth's way of global power was Spain, which, as we know, was extracting massive wealth out of the Native American civilizations of the New World. And Spain was using that wealth to build up a huge navy known as the Spanish Armada. And the Spanish Armada dominated the seas during the 1500s. English ships, supported by the Queen Elizabeth, started plundering Spanish ships carrying gold. The captains of these ships were known as the Sea Dogs. And these Sea Dogs gained great fame and wealth in England. And they included two men, Sir Francis Drake and Sir Walter Raleigh. The Sea Dogs were basically pirates. And as you can imagine, Spain was not happy with England raiding its ships. So in 1588, Spain sent the Armada to the English Channel to show England who was boss. But the English fleet, which consisted of smaller and faster boats, were able to hold their own against the Armada. That, combined with the freak thunderstorm, ultimately destroyed the rest of the Armada, dealt a significant blow to Spain's global power. Now, at the end of the 15th and the beginning of the 16th centuries, the conditions were just right for England to start colonizing North America. England had strong central rulers, which were the kings and queens and the British Parliament. So here we have a picture of Queen Elizabeth, which will represent the strong central rulers in England. And following the defeat of the Spanish Armada, the English emerged as the world's most dominant sea power. Now, another factor which contributed to English colonization was that there were a growing number of poor and landless. The main cause of this was an English law known as primogeniture. Now, primogeniture laws have to do with inheritance. And to explain how these laws work, I will enlist the help of the Griffin family from Family Guy. Now let's imagine for a second that Peter Griffin, well, first of all, this is what was at stake, obviously, is the Griffin inheritance, their home, their wealth. And let's imagine for a second when Peter Griffin dies. Who inherits the family's land and who inherits the wealth? Well, it's not Lois or Meg because they're women and they can't own property. And sorry, Stewie, the second-born gets nothing.
Hey, that's my dad!
So under the primogeniture system, Chris, the firstborn son, would inherit everything. So that's what primogeniture means. The firstborn son inherits everything. And ultimately, it was entrepreneurial younger sons like Stewie who realized that they had to seek their fortunes elsewhere in the colonies.
I shall end your oppressive reign of matriarchal tyranny.
Finally, the increasing religious conflict that emerged during the Protestant Reformation was another key factor leading to English colonization. Dissenters from the Church of England, such as the Puritans and the English Catholics, left for the colonies to distance themselves from the Church of England. And the final factor relates back to the English economic policy during this period, which is known as mercantilism. And we'll talk more about mercantilism in a later video. But the basic idea is that a country achieves wealth by having a positive balance of trade. And they do this by exporting more than they import. And so England saw America as a great source of raw materials and a market for their products. And so they saw the colonies as a way to increase their balance of trade, to increase their exports relative to their imports. So when we mix all these factors together, England is in a much stronger position to colonize North America at the turn of the 17th century. And the result is an explosion of British colonial activity in the 1600s, resulting in the eventual formation of the 13 British colonies. But as we will learn in the next video, things got off to a bit of a slow start with the first colony at Roanoke. 100 colonists mysteriously disappear in 1519, and then England would have to wait 17 more years before trying to colonize again at Jamestown. So let's end this video by returning to our big question. Why was England slow to enter the colonization race, and what factors led it to launch colonies in the 1600s? Hopefully you can answer that question now that you have watched this video. And as always, thanks for watching.